Okay, hey, good Sunday morning to everyone. Thanks for joining me today for another edition of the Regular Guys NBA DFS show. I am David. We are back in the dungeon, and we have a nice little two-game slate here to get started on here in just a few minutes. Before I get started, though, guys, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd hit the like button down below. Also, if you'd hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell, that way you get notified every time we put out a new video, every time if we go live. We haven't gone live yet. I'm not sure we'll do that during the playoffs, but I'm going to have a lot more content, guys, coming up in the next few weeks, too. We're going to start getting ready for fantasy football, of course, and, that's where I've had a lot of success this last year, and just really excited already for that to get started. But anyway, had some decent success yesterday in the showdown. I didn't make a video for the showdown, guys, because I don't figure it was really that necessary. I mean, if you're playing showdown, you know how to play showdown, um, and we're pretty much dealing with the same pool of guys. It's just it comes down to who did you make your captain. I put in 5 lineups yesterday in Showdown, and I had 1 Kawhi Leonard captainship. So that's all it took, to make a little bit of money back. But let's get back into the more traditional, classic way of playing DFS. I like these 2-game slates. I'm just not a real big fan of the Showdown series. So again, if you hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button, give me a follow on Twitter at SandoDFS. We'll try and put out some updates throughout the day as necessary. For example, we've got an injury that may have a little bit of an effect today. Jeff Green is questionable, so we'll talk about that as we get into the video here. If you're new to the channel, I did want to mention this. Who am I? Well, I am a former sports talk radio host who just really started falling in love with daily fantasy. Built a little studio down here in my basement, and I've had some success playing fantasy sports. And so I thought I'd start making these videos to help just regular guys like us that aren't professional DFS players necessarily, but still like to have fun. And you can make money playing DFS, even if you're not a professional player who's putting in 150 lineups every slate. So anyway, that's if you're new to the channel, I thought I'd give you just a little bit of background there. We're going to be having more videos coming out. We're going to have a gambling video coming out. It's not legal in the state that I play in, but it's only 45 minutes away across the river into Iowa, and we can make as many bets as we want. So we're going to start getting into that too as the NBA season winds down. But anyway, let's get started on this Sunday morning. I know you guys probably got stuff to do on a Sunday morning, and start breaking down what we like on this little 2-gamer today. Okay, we've got Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Denver. Denver fighting for their lives. Not to get swept, to try and win at least 1 game at home. I'm kind of counting on that today. And Milwaukee the same way. They won a game, but my God, it was ugly. 86 to 83, I think, was the final score. So, yeah, 2 teams in Milwaukee and Denver that are, certainly desperate for wins today. Okay, so I looked at this slate. I'm like, all right, we got our top 2 guys. They finally gave Giannis the minutes last time. He'd only been playing, like 35, 30. He finally played 43 minutes, scored 53 fantasy points. Again, it was an ugly game, but Giannis had a good game with 33 and 14. And then Joker just went off. Triple-double, I think 78 fantasy points. So I'm sitting here thinking, is there a way that we can jam both these guys into the same lineup? And there is, but it's going to be very risky. So let's get to that lineup first. Normally, guys, we do a pick 6. I mentioned in my last video, if you didn't catch it, I'm not sure if the pick 6 is generally the way is really the way to go now that we're in the playoffs and we're just getting these 1 and 2 game slates. It made a lot more sense when we had 10, 12 game slates, trying to find the right value, trying to find the right guys in the right matchups, that kind of stuff, where you had a whole lot more to choose from. In these 2 game slates, I mean, we're all basically playing the same players, right? We're all playing out of the same pool. There aren't a lot of huge decisions to make as far as, do I play Giannis one night or Dame one night? Who's got the better matchup? So I kind of changed the format here a little bit where I was like, you know what? Let's just build a few lineups. Um, I usually make 3 lineups a day. I'll just tell you guys how I play NBA DFS. I enter as many single entry contests as I can, and then I'll enter any 3 entry contests. And really, they only have the one $3 one on DraftKings. Um, so I like playing in tournaments where I can max enter. Now, once in a while, if I make 4 or 5 lineups, I'll throw them into one of those cheap big tournaments, that have thousands of people in them. And just because you never know, what if you had the optimal lineup? But generally speaking, I play in the three entry max and the single entry. So, um, can we get a lineup in our single entries that puts Giannis and Jokic together? Do we even need to do that? Probably not, but I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to show you how I built it out. So Giannis at 10-8, Jokic at 10-6. I am still stunned. I'm going to make 3 lineups today, guys, and uh, this guy's going to be in every one of them. Chris Paul has been absolutely unbelievable. 49, 50 some, and 50 some the last 3 games. His price is still only 7,400. I'm stunned by that. He's outperformed Kyrie Irving in the last 3 games, um, and they only bumped his price $100 or $200. I think he was maybe 7,200 the last slate. If I'm going to keep getting production like that from Chris Paul, yeah, something in your back of your mind says, "Oh man, I got to have Brooklyn guys. I got to play Kyrie. What if Kyrie goes off?" But for a $2,000 savings from 7,400 to 9,300, I'm just going to go ahead and keep riding with Chris Paul if he's going to keep playing like this. So Chris Paul is probably going to be my point guard in every lineup today, and we'll just move on from there. Going to the shooting guard position here in this lineup. Again, we have to be careful. As you see, we've only got $4,200 in salary, and that's another reason, guys, that I kind of changed the format here to get into a lineup building thing. I can give you a bunch of guys to put in. I think this guy's going to have a big day. I think this guy's going to have a big day. But if it doesn't fit into a lineup, it doesn't really matter. You still have to, make it work in a lineup that has a chance to cash. So we got to be careful here with only 4,200, and we're going to end up having to play a guy that, my God, it just pains me to put him in, but I'm going to try him one more time. Anyway, as far as this lineup goes, let's go to shooting guard. And Will Barton has come back for the Denver Nuggets. The first game he said he'd be on a minutes limit. I think he played 18 minutes, and he was pretty productive in those 18 minutes. Then we get a weird message. We get a message before last slate that Will Barton is going to be on a minutes limit again. But then the coach comes out with some weird speak about, well, yeah, he's on the same minutes limit, but he might not play the same minutes. So right then I should have known to come down and do some moving around in my lineup. But he didn't have a huge game. But I think Will Barton now, this being an elimination game, do or die, I think he played 28 minutes last game. He's going to play over 30 today, I would imagine. And at $5,000, Will Barton can be a very productive player if he shoots the ball well. So let's just double check. Yeah, he played 28 minutes, 27 fantasy points, about a point per minute, which is great. We'll take that. 30 fantasy points would be 6x. That's what I'm looking for here. So let's take a chance on Will Barton today to maybe even get a few more minutes than he did before. Monte Morris went off for Denver in that last game. I'm not going to chase Monte Morris. He hadn't been all that productive. Comes out, he's hot, he's shooting well, so they leave him in the game. They take the minutes away from Campazzo, and he has a big game. But that's really his first one in a while. His price jumped up. Let's see if I can get Monte Morris. Yeah, to 5,300. I'm not going to chase Monte Morris having another. If he has another huge game and he beats me, he has another huge game and he beats me. and I'll just have to deal with it. Speaking of guys that had huge games out of nowhere, Bruce Brown had a huge game, as we all know, in the last game. He ended up playing 38 minutes and having 35 fantasy points, 16 points, 11 rebounds, got the double-double. Again, look at his 2 games before that, 27 and 21, playing between generally 21 and 25 minutes. I hesitate here to go back to Bruce Brown. Is he going to have another game like that? A lot like Morris had that game last game as well. He's going to be really chalky today, guys. People are going to be chasing the Bruce Brown. His price came up to $4,700, but he's still under $5K. And people are going to look at recency bias, and they're going to look at that last game and go, "Oh my God, I got to have Bruce Brown in there." I'll put him in here, but I'm going to show you how we might mess with this lineup here when we get these guys in. Okay. Speaking of guys and minutes, last game Bruce Brown got all these minutes, which meant that Mike James did not get as many minutes. I'm going to put Mike. I'm just going to go ahead and throw him in here. Mike James. He had been playing. First 2 games, he played 30 and 24 minutes, scored 26 and 21 fantasy points. Bruce Brown goes off, and Mike James gets knocked down to 12 minutes. I am willing today to take a chance that Mike James does not play 12 minutes. If he does, then you know what? Again, you take the L and you move on. But I think they're going to go back to a more traditional lineup like they did in the first 2. I think Mike James will get more minutes. Again, they lost this game. They only scored 83 points in spite of Bruce Brown having the game that he had. So I'm willing to go right back and take a chance on Mike James. In fact, it's one of the things in my strategies, guys, that I like to do in playing DFS. You get a guy coming off of a horrible game. So many people are going to fade him. They're not even going to think twice about him. They're going to try and get other people in their lineup. I don't mind coming right back to a guy, even after maybe a couple bad games in a row. Now, it's the minutes thing that we worry about here, right? So is Bruce Brown just going to get all the minutes again today? Maybe, but I don't think so. So I'm willing to take a chance here with Mike James and see if maybe he can't get his minutes back up to at least over 20 minutes. So that leaves us with a couple of guys here. You guys, if you've been following this channel, he hasn't worked out he worked out one time, but where we're at with salary, I want to try and keep this together. So I'm going right back to my guy, JaMychal Green. Again, he's risky. This is a risky play. This is a risky lineup build, trying to get Giannis and Jokic into the same lineup. Only 18 minutes last game, 7 fantasy points. His first game against Phoenix, 23 minutes, 27 fantasy points, and then he's had 2 duds in a row. I'm willing to give him one more chance, and if they don't win today, it will be the last chance. But I'm willing to go back to him that hopefully he'll get somewhere around 20, 22 minutes and can put up maybe, 20 to 24 fantasy points. At 3,700, we're going to take a chance. So we have our last spot here. Here's another guy that people are going to be avoiding today like the plague, and I kind of get it. Austin Rivers has not been productive in his at least last 2 games, but he's been playing the minutes, 31, 25, and 27 minutes. He's just shot the ball horribly. 1 for 4 from 3-pointers, 2 for 5, 2 for 5, 2 for 7. So the key is here, he's still getting the minutes. So again, I'm taking chances. I'm willing to take another chance on Austin Rivers here. I don't love it, but again, if a couple of these guys pop off, they're not going to be high owned, and that's where we can get an advantage. So if you want to build the lineup with Giannis and Jokic, you're probably going to have to take some chances with guys like this, and this is what I came up with. Now, we can modify this, because if you notice, we got 4 Denver guys here, which that's okay on a 2-game slate. I don't mind it. But we talked about Bruce Brown and how popular he's probably going to be today. I'll guarantee you a guy that isn't going to be popular, and that's Aaron Gordon. He's been so bad, but He has the potential and he's playing the minutes. Okay. 31 fantasy points in the first game against Phoenix. And then he went 20 minutes in a blowout and then back to 36 minutes. He only scored 7 fantasy points. But you see the theme I'm building on here. Guys like this are gonna get avoided. They're not gonna be high owned, and maybe they'll just end up sucking and not be productive. And again, that happens, and we'll move on to the next slate. But if you want to find a guy for lower ownership that has the potential, to score you 28 to 35 fantasy points, and I mean he won't be high owned today at all, guys. Aaron Gordon he's been disappointing for Denver. I get it, but if he's going to play 36 minutes. I'm willing to bet that he's not going to score 7 fantasy points in 36 minutes again. So if we change that around, I don't want 5 Denver guys in my lineup. So now I got to find a different alternative down here. And I don't mind looking at Bryn Forbes. He generally gets between 20 and 25 minutes a game. He's, as you see, he's on and off productive. In this series, he hasn't been productive at all, only 16 fantasy points one time. But if they go back to him to get the 20 minutes, I mean, you could try and take a chance on him. And then another guy we can look at is Torian Craig. Let's talk about him. Let's just talk about him. PJ Tucker, maybe the most unproductive guy in the history of fantasy, but he keeps getting minutes. That first game against Brooklyn, 28 minutes, 17 fantasy points, then 22 and 5, 33 and 4. He gets the minutes, guys. He's not productive, but if he would pop off and give us 20 fantasy points, oh my God, we'd be so far ahead of the game. So, Torian Craig, or Torrey Craig, I think his name is. Yeah, Torrey Craig. 15 and 17 minutes. He doesn't get the minute, but generally he's very productive when he gets the minutes. He had a bad game last game. So if I were going to put Aaron Gordon into this lineup, that's the guy I would go to. I would go to Craig. Even though he's getting under 20 minutes, he's very productive, generally speaking, with the minutes that he gets. If he can get us 20 fantasy points at 3,300, we'll take it all day. So this is the Giannis Jokic lineup that I came up with. If you want to try and jam both of them into a lineup. Okay, let's move quickly to one more lineup here, guys. We'll go a little bit more traditional here. Again, I'm going to start with Chris Paul at my point guard position. I mean, it's so hard not to play like Kyrie Irving, right? But again, Chris Paul's been more productive, and Kyrie's $2,000 more. So I'm just going to start with Chris Paul and continue to hope and ride the train here. Shooting guard for this one. Let's take a look at Campazzo. Now, here's what happened in the last game. Campazzo hasn't been all that productive, right? But he had been getting the minutes. 36-29. Had a good game the first game, not a good game the second game, and then only gets 18 minutes here in the last game. Well, that was because Monte Morris got smoking hot, okay? And again, I think a lot of people are going to ride that Morris train. He's going to be very popular today. I'm willing to go back to Campazzo, that he'll get more minutes this game, hopefully be more productive in it. And again, he'll be low owned today, guys. Guys aren't going to go to Campazzo today after the 2 stinkers he's put up the last 2 games and the minutes that he played last game. But again, I'm kind of betting that Morris is not going to go off like he did last game, and that the minutes will be more evenly distributed, and Campazzo will get back to his normal minutes, which should be somewhere around 25 minutes. Okay, I'm trying to go quick here, guys. I know this video's taking a little longer. In small forward, you know what? He's the best player in basketball, and I assume he's just going to have another big game today. They shot so poorly. Brooklyn is not going to shoot as poorly as they did in the last game, and I imagine Kevin Durant, he's Kevin Durant. I don't have to sit here and spend 15 minutes telling you why Kevin Durant is a guy that you want in your lineup. So, boom. Let's put Giannis back in. Again, these guys are they're they're desperate for a win. They go down 3-1 here, and it's over. It's probably over anyway. But I'm just waiting for Milwaukee to come out and show some life, and hopefully today is that day. Now you could go to Jokic here and play somebody different at power forward. Play with it how you want. I'm going to have Jokic or Giannis in all three of my lineups today. It's just going to be that way. And hopefully they both have big games. A guy that I like who keeps getting double-doubles, DeAndre Ayton from Phoenix. He's just been productive. He keeps getting double-doubles, guys. And at 6,500, I want him in at least one of my lineups, 35, 27, 33 fantasy points. Very consistent, very productive. So we're going to put DeAndre Ayton in our second lineup here. And then again, I'm going to go back to Mike James. I think he's going to get more minutes this game. I just think he is. They lost the last game 86-83 when he didn't play enough minutes. Why wouldn't you go back to having James in the lineup more in games that you won where he was more productive? And so then we've got only $3,400 left with trying to put Durant in here. So again, we're going to have to go through the same deal about which really bad value do you want, and it's going to end up being something like, PJ Tucker and Torrey Craig. So hopefully they don't kill us too bad, and that our top six guys here, can be very, very productive if you want to go that route. You can fade Giannis if you want, fade Jokic if you want. I'm just not willing to do that today. So there's a couple lineups, guys. The way I'm thinking, if you want to go with a Jokic lineup here with no Giannis, we can see how that builds out. I think, like I said, I'm starting all of my point guard positions with Chris Paul today. Devin Booker, I don't have any problem playing Booker and Paul together. They've both been really, really good. Paul's been better fantasy-wise, but, Booker could come out today and just go off like he has in the past. So I don't mind playing these two guys together, so maybe put in a lineup with this. And then another guy that had a horrible game last game that he's not going to continue to shoot that poorly. Now, he's not an overly productive player anyway, but I have a feeling that Joe Harris bounces back today, so I could put Joe Harris in here. And then let's hope Blake Griffin gets back, because I'm not going to have any other Brooklyn in this lineup besides Harris and Griffin. Griffin had that big game, the first game against Milwaukee. He's kind of come back down to earth, but the key is he's been playing the minutes. So I don't have a problem at all trying to go back to Griffin, and as long as they're going to keep playing him over Claxton. Now, here's something to watch today, though. Jeff Green might be back today. If he is back, I assume he's on a minutes limit. So he's probably going to take minutes away from Bruce Brown if he does come back and play. Bruce Brown and Nick Claxton. I don't think it's going to affect Blake Griffin that much, but it's something to keep an eye on as we get the news closer to lock here, whether or not Jeff Green plays. So, yeah, I'm glad I mentioned that, because it can mess with Bruce Brown and Nicholas Claxton's minutes, and maybe even Blake Griffin's to an extent. But at this point, we can put him in, and then I like going back to Will Barton again. I think they're going to go to him heavy today. He's going to play over 30 minutes. And then you can go down and put my boy JaMychal Green in, and I don't mind at all. I think Brook Lopez is due for a big game. So at only 4,400, if he just has a little bit of an above-average game like he had some this regular season, he certainly is paying off that price tag. So there's three lineups to look at, guys. This is kind of the way I'm thinking for the day. Obviously play with them how you want. If you got a gut feeling about somebody, you don't want to play somebody. But generally speaking, this is what I'm going to be entering in the contest today. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Again, please, before we get out of here, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment down below. We're still doing our $25 DFS dollars giveaway for the playoffs. Give me a follow on Twitter at SandoDFS. If you retweet the link or the post that has this link to this video in it, you're automatically entered in our $25 drawing. So that'll do it for today. Happy Sunday, guys. Good luck to all of us, and we will talk to you again on Monday.